Throughout recent galactic cycles, the examination of human endeavors has evolved into a fashionable scientific interest. Countless publications have emerged within a relatively brief period, detailing the remarkable and astonishing adaptations humans have undergone to survive as the dominant apex predator on an extreme danger class world. While many species similar to humans possess superior intelligence, humans also have the added benefit of physiological resilience that is often absent in their sentient counterparts across other worlds. Scientists continue to discover numerous human physiological advantages observed exclusively in their species. For instance, we can analyze the hand, wrist, elbow, and shoulder of a human, which together create the entirely unique ability to propel objects with precision. Naturally, several species can toss items from one location to another, but none with the speed or accuracy of humans. Both males and females demonstrate an extraordinary degree of precision and velocity, the force of which can be lethal to other humans if the object is propelled with sufficient power and aim. In human athletics, a thrower for their popular sport can launch a ball at tremendous speeds into a small target area, though this understates their capabilities. Human theory suggests this skill helped them capture food from faster, more agile prey on their planet, while others propose some connection to language acquisition. Over generations, humans have enhanced this ability with technologies such as slings, but even without these additions, the human capacity to throw remains adaptively remarkable. Zex despised conflict and particularly loathed his involvement in it, being on the front lines, hiding in trenches, crawling forward on his multiple limbs, and most of all, listening to the agonized screams as individuals perished or were injured around him. He disliked everything about it, and simply wanted to return to the vessel and go home. The human commander Marcus Paul had taken time to instruct Zex on the significance of assisting others, and naturally, he comprehended that, but this wasn't his concept of helping whatsoever. However, the planetary coalition strongly disagreed with him, and had utilized their substantial authority to requisition every human crew within a vast radius for the mission. It didn't help that the UPS Piercer was an independent vessel with a freelance crew, so they went wherever the payment was. Unfortunately for Zex, the money happened to be on planet Nexus, battling the Vork's warlords to liberate the subjugated Ithili. The situation was made worse by the planetary coalition's heavy reliance on a deploy humans until resolved strategy whenever a warfare problem emerged, especially since the Grell conflict that nearly backfired had the humans not intervened. Why did humans have to excel at warfare? The reality was emphasized as Commander Paul settled beside him inside the improvised shelter, energy weapon cradled in one arm. One section of his uniform was torn along the side, revealing the metallic gleam of his cybernetic limb. The metal was dented and scratched from extended combat, but he appeared unconcerned. From what Zex understood, Commander Paul had sustained that injury in a similar conflict, in a struggle on behalf of the planetary coalition against the Vorks. Despite his missing limb, the commander had never complained about any issues related to the traumatic injury. In fact, Zex hadn't noticed any distinction between him and his fully formed counterparts, except for his ability to smuggle refreshments into restricted areas. That particular trick seemed to be greatly enhanced. "Commander," the man leaned back against the barrier close to him and took a lengthy, deep breath. "We are officially in a catastrophic situation. Our ammunition supply is critically low, and they've demolished the bridge. The ravine walls will be too difficult to scale without assistance from reinforcements, and they all appear to be engaged elsewhere. We shouldn't anticipate help for some time to come." "What now? And who's restrained by bindings?" Zex asked confusedly. "Sorry, it's a figure of speech. We're trapped with no escape route, and nobody can assist us," the commander clarified. Zex released a moan of dismay as the commander spoke. "Wait, hold on. There is positive news," the commander added. Zex looked up, a flicker of optimism piercing through his thoughts. "Their bridge has been destroyed as well, so reinforcements aren't likely to arrive for them either," the commander explained. Zex deflated. Humans possessed a peculiar optimism that made it challenging to comprehend when circumstances were dire. Either that, or they genuinely misunderstood the concept of good news. Immediate rescue constituted good news. Surrender from the opposition was good news. Not this. That particular set of circumstances had probably led them to their current predicament. Completely depleted of ammunition and stranded on a platform within a deep pit, a massive fracture had split the canyon floor, breaking it in half by a considerable distance of chasm descending into darkness, filled with low-hanging mist obscuring the bottom. One canyon, two sides, and two armies, both stranded and both by now entirely without ammunition. It presented an unusual sight. The humans standing in an extended line on one side, the Vork soldiers in another extended line on the opposite side, angrily glaring at each other, making gestures and taunting. Hours had passed, yet the exchange remained loud, extensive, and inventive. Bloated puss slugs, squirming bottom feeders, slimy, mangy, deformed flesh toads. Long ago, they had exhausted classic galactic insults. The enemy side had begun using insults from their native language, but after depleting those, they simply combined words to create new insults. Remarkably, the humans still hadn't run out of new human insults. Just how many did they possess? Though Zex noticed, they became increasingly convoluted yet equally creative and lengthy. When divinity bestowed beauty upon all creations, you must have been shielding yourself with a barrier. Your appearance makes vegetables weep. You represent the alien equivalent of monthly discomfort. Your maternal figure was a small rodent, and your paternal figure exuded the scent of fermented berries. I shall strike you with such force that your skeletal structure will emerge from your oral cavity in sequence like a candy dispenser. Zex wasn't certain what most of it meant, as the significance of the human insults was likely lost in translation, but he was fairly confident he didn't want to learn where the commander intended to place his prosthetic limb. The situation must have been exasperating for both sides, so near to each other yet unable to take action. The humans were a species of activity, and once agitated, it was difficult to calm them. Periodically, one human would emit their traditional battle cry, and others would join the chorus to complement the taunting. But the Vorks matched their intensity, clicking at the humans in their unusual language and striking their armored surfaces against each other for the noise. The cacophony was altogether overwhelming. At least, that was the situation until one particular insult rose above the rest, and suddenly an eerie silence fell over the human side. The translation proved challenging for Zex to discern, but it was directed primarily at Commander Paul, the evident leader of their side, and referenced him in relation to the juvenile state of his own species' offspring, and especially concerning his parental unit, specifically his mother. Whatever the translation, the commander went silent, and their entire side of the plateau became instantly quiet. The reaction occurred so abruptly and jarringly that the opposition followed suit, uncertain about the development. Glancing around at the humans' expressions, angry before, they now stood in states of shock and somehow impossibly even greater anger. The commander remained completely still, pale skin flushing with the thick liquid that coursed through his body. He said nothing for an extended moment before silently signaling one of his soldiers to approach. The soldier came with his identical sibling to confer with the commander. Zex could barely distinguish their whispered conversation. "You mentioned once that you were a thrower in the minor division back home," the commander began. After a pause of confusion, the other human responded, "Well, yes, sir. Why?" The question went ignored. "How proficient were you?" From the other side, the identical sibling interjected, "Exceptional, sir. Truly exceptional. I may have received the attractive features, but he acquired the talent. He would have competed in the major division if not for the vehicular accident. He was on his path. Still exceptional now, too." The brother dismissed him, but the smile on his face was evident. He offered a sort of self-deprecating shrug before grinning. "Yeah, he's correct." The commander remained silent for an extended moment, contemplating the chasm between them and the opposing side. After some time, he reached down, grasping a substantial rock in his right hand, tossing it upward and downward with a calculating, thoughtful expression. Eventually, he held out the rock and calmly pointed toward the tallest Forks, the one who had shouted the insult. "How about a direct throw right down the middle?" he suggested. The other man regarded the commander, then examined the rock, before a grim, malicious smile overtook his expression. "My pleasure, sir." All around him, the humans stepped back, providing him with space. The Vorks observed with confused amusement as the human positioned himself atop a small elevation on the ground. He rotated his shoulders several times, stretched his limbs, and flexed his digits. Zex had never witnessed a human prepare for a feat in this manner before, so he couldn't have predicted what would follow. Given it involved humans, it probably included violence. Appearing satisfied, the human oriented himself sideways, appendages pointing parallel to the chasm. Fortunately for Zex, with multiple cortical hemispheres processing the subsequent movement, the action was simple to analyze. The slow Vorks continued watching, amused, when the tall one's head seemingly exploded without warning. The movement occurred within microseconds, like a complex sequence of motions entirely designed to store energy, connect the body, and release it with maximum efficiency. The left foot rose first, ascending slightly and swinging gradually toward the right shoulder as the left hip rotated inward, arms clasped at his front. The human bent at the waist, maintaining a straight back and elevated head. The left foot reversed position, swinging the hip back open as the right arm began to drop. The right hand descended almost to knee level as the left arm swung outward and the left foot swung wide, moving from parallel to perpendicular. The 2 feet, previously close together, were now separated by an enormous step. The right hand hung behind the body, almost entirely across the torso where the hips and pelvis were positioned, and then, with a motion resembling a release spring, the human unleashed. Energy surged from the foot into the hip before racing up the back. It connected at the shoulder, multiplied with the massive rotational velocity before shooting toward the elbow, still bent as the arm was propelled forward. The human's chest aligned completely parallel to the chasm as the arm swung overhead, elbow adding one final snap to the momentum before the rock disappeared. Fingers parted as that immense energy launched the rock directly forward. The momentum carried the human's leg well above his head, and the projectile traversed the chasm. Zex couldn't track the movement due to its speed, but he couldn't have missed the flesh impact and crack as the rock struck its target, causing yellow fluid to spray everywhere around the Vorks general's head. What remained of the head was knocked backward, and the feet shot upward, slamming the Vorks general onto the stone below with another sickening impact. The exoskeleton caved and shattered like a broken shell, with cortical tissue leaking onto the stone. The Vorks stood in horrified silence at the humans in strange admiration before the war cry arose. Vork squeals of terror followed as countless humans rushed forward with their own stones. Men and women launched hundreds of projectiles, one after another, propelling them high into the air and straight ahead. Far in the back, someone could be heard requesting materials to construct a siege weapon because he wanted to increase the scale, because naturally, that's what humans do. Meanwhile, the Vorks attempted to flee, screaming and stumbling over each other in their haste. To Zex's right, one human female employed a different approach. Right leg forward, she shifted her weight back onto the left hip, swinging the rock backward and high above her head, perpendicular to the ground. With her body at a right angle, she pushed from there, bringing her arm back down in an underhanded arc as she took a wide step forward. The left leg moved upward as the right arm followed. Then she brought it back around, storing the momentum as her left foot contacted the ground, rock once again high above her head. Like her male counterpart, she allowed her elbow to snap through the bottom of the arc. The rock shot upward and connected with the throat of a Vorks lieutenant running in the opposite direction. He collapsed onto the stone, choking against his crushed respiratory passage. The humans called out in triumphant exclamations as they transformed their bodies into projectile-launching weapons, firing at a rate and accuracy Zext had never witnessed from biological movement. Of course, they missed some targets, but more often than not, they made contact, smashing carapaces, shattering exoskeletons, and wreaking devastation. Those unable to escape toward the canyon's end soon lay in wasted heaps, one atop another, moaning with the agony of their broken bodies or silenced in pools of their own fluids. The battlefield before them represented a massacre, and not one human had been touched. In peculiar horror, Zex sat in a state of stunned shock as Commander Paul approached, massaging his shoulder with a grimly satisfied expression. "Thank goodness for educational physical training, correct?" he remarked with a smile.